I'll tell you something that really bugs me right now, though, the problem I'm having and what I'm going to have to work around, and I'll show y'all why I'm doing what I'm doing, is the fact that they don't make lumber dimensional no more. All right, y'all, we are finally back at it. We're over here where we pour the cement pad, where we're going to start our deer cooler, and I am ready to get back on it. And like I say, I'll try to explain things as I go along. I'm not going to record all of it. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and remove the form that I put around with 2x4s. When I poured the concrete, I'm going to go ahead and pull that up, and I am ready to get back on it. And like I say, I'll try to explain things as I go along. I'm not going to record all of it because the video is going to get way too long. Me mixing the concrete last time, I believe that video was like 1 hour and 15 minutes, and Mikey's having to go through all this footage and delete it down and shorten it up and all that, and that's just too much work for her. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and remove the form that I put around with 2x4s. When I poured the concrete, I'm going to go ahead and pull that up. It drives me nuts to use good lumber for putting a form down, because you get that concrete all over your lumber and then it ain't pretty no more. Let's go ahead and start building, y'all. I do have me a metal speed square. I got a couple of them. I was just using that plastic one on the deck because it was lighter than the aluminum ones, but I got about 3 or 4 of these things. I got these old military sawhorses my dad gave me. He bought these things a long time ago at like an old Army Navy store or something like that. I love these things. They fold up. They're really handy. Most people would just put a 2x4, treated 2x4 along the bottom when you start building your stud walls. I'm going to use completely nothing but treated lumber. I have a reason for that. I'll explain that later on. And some people wouldn't even use no treated lumber. So on a cement pad, just use regular old lumber. Well, I'll explain that one too. So that's what I'm going to do. So looks good. All right, let me cut y'all off. Let me get a couple of these cut, because it'd be just daggone crazy sitting here making y'all watch me cut all these things. The reason I'm going to go with treated lumber completely, one, we're over here in the woods. I don't want to have to worry about termites coming in here. And if I put a treated 2x4 down on this pad and then use regular, just plain lumber, non-treated, you're liable to get termites in it and you won't know it. It'll be behind your wall. So that's number one. Number two, I am building a cooler. So you're going to have a little bit of condensation and stuff like that. And condensation will make regular plain lumber rot. So I think it was like $1.50, $1.75, something like that. Difference in just a non-treated 2x4 and a treated 2x4 by 8 feet long. So I just went ahead and paid a little extra money and won't have to worry about it rotting from moisture or termites getting in it. The cement pad. When most people build coolers, and like I told y'all in the other video, there's a million ways you could do this. A million ways people do it, just going about it differently. Just me, with what I do with work and having to work on walk-in coolers, refrigeration, I know what's good and what's bad. A lot of people, when they build these, there's one way to build it. They will take build a frame out of wood 2x6s or 2x4s and insulate it, and then put plywood on top of that. Well, I did not want plywood for blood to drip on. Plus, insulation, I'm gonna tell y'all right now, because I've already, when I started this, I didn't pay that much attention to it. Insulation is through the roof. You can't just use any insulation. You cannot use bad insulation like you would put in your walls and stuff like that. It will rot. It will get mold in it from the condensation from the cooler. You cannot use that. You have to use polyethylene or closed cell phone rigid insulation. And the one that they recommend the most is the one that is the tinfoil faced. I've not got it yet. I finally located some, and y'all, that's ridiculous price. I'm just gonna tell you, it's ridiculous. But every cooler that we have at work, they're cement floored. The cement is already a natural insulation. So as long as you don't extend out. Now, if I'd extend this out and build the cooler smaller, the sun hitting the cement pad down there, the part that it hit, you would get some heat transfer into your cooler. So I'm going to build this cooler the exact same as the cement pad, which is a little smaller than 8x8, because you know it's framed in with 8x8s, so it's going to be smaller. The 8x8 would be actually what the wood would have been on the outside, so it's already a little bit smaller. Hopefully that'll stay. So I'm going to build the cooler the same size as the cement pad, and then I will bring dirt in and cover up the edges of the cement, so you won't get no heat transfer that way. I'll show y'all the next steps. There's things I'm going to tell y'all that's good, that's bad, that you can't do, you can do, you can get away with, stuff like that. I'm going to explain it as I go. Like I say, there's a million ways you could have built this. I'm only going to use my cooler. I'm going to state right now, I'm only going to be using my cooler for 6 months out of the year. Hog butchering season and pretty much the middle to the end of our deer season. I do not hunt when hunting season comes in August 15th. To me, it's too hot. I don't want to go sit in a tree and sweat half to death hunting. I like hunting when it's cooler weather. So I start my hunting season in October and November and December to January 1st. 3 months that I hunt, because hunting season's over January 1st. Our hog season is November and December and January. So I'm only going to be using this 6 months out of the year, not the full time. So I'm going to do my insulation a little bit different when I go to do the walls, and I will explain that when I get to that step and why. Door is going to be on this side right here. Sorry, y'all. I'm doing my best to keep y'all moved around. Well, y'all, I made a mistake. I'll willingly admit it. I don't know what I was thinking when I measured this. I was doing some figuring in my head and this had it. I'll get you all up. I made these things about half an inch off. All these on the bottom. So I'm going to have to take the screws out and move them back to the right. When I measured this, I willingly admit it. When I measured these, for some reason in my head, I started measuring right here in the center of that board. And on the other one, I did it right and realized my mistake. So I measured before 16 inches on center right there. See, y'all can see the line right here. So what it needs to be is 16 inches on center is actually right there. So that's no good. So I'm gonna have to move all these boards over a little bit. So let me get that done, taken care of. All right, what I was figuring in my head when that sheet of plywood, anybody that works with wood knows what I'm talking about. When that sheet of plywood goes in there on the opposing wall, because of the studs, the way the studs come together, you won't be able to get a full sheet of plywood up in there. So what you'll have to do is actually put another stud in there to catch that piece of plywood, where the other piece of plywood on the other wall will come flat up against it. And for some reason, I was offsetting it, thinking that was the wall that the plywood was not going to go all the way up to flush. So my mistake. I'm glad I caught it before I got the wall up, and I was wondering like, whoa. Need a ladder, y'all. I got sun right in my eyes. Alright. That's just holding this thing up now. I still got to anchor it down to the concrete with lag bolts. That's 2 walls. Got 2 walls up. Yay. It's getting there. Definitely getting there. Alright. Let me cut y'all off so I can get some more of this done and then bring y'all back along with me. Alright. There we have it. 3 walls of it. I ran out of boards. I didn't know how many I was going to need. I was just figuring them up in my head. I got pretty close because the front's going to have a door on it, so it won't be quite as many. So, got 3 walls up, y'all. And then once I get the other wall built, or excuse me, before I build the other wall, we'll have to square it all up and anchor this down to the concrete. So I got some of the Blue Pro anchor bolts that you just drill in the concrete and then you screw them into it. They work really good, really good. So there's going to be a lot of sealing on this thing too. Y'all see that as we go along. So like I said, that's 3 walls of it. I'll get out your way so you can see it. Still got 1 more wall on the door and the roof and a lot of insulating to do. And then a lot of sealing to do. There's going to be a lot of great stuff foam involved and a whole lot of 2-inch insulation with the full back on it. So, and then have some, I guess some of that prime T11 plywood. Put that on the outside, make it look nice. So, here's what it is, y'all. I'll be back on it tomorrow. Alright, once I get this wall up, this is going to be it for phase 2, getting the walls up. Then we'll work on another part of it. I just haven't decided yet which one. Probably putting the outside exterior siding on. So, let's get this last wall. This is the wall that the door's going to be in. So let's get this knocked out. I will say for this project, I ended up making the door 32 inches wide. Because the bigger the door is, the more air you're going to let out. And I only need about a 32. I sat there and played with it in my mind, put the tape measure down, measured the floor, just getting a ballpark figure. All I need to do is be able to pick a deer up and get a deer in there. Like I say, the bigger the hole that you make, more air conditioning you're going to let out. And just the more aggravating it's going to be. So I opted to go ahead and do this a 32-inch door. That's plenty big enough. Most doors are 32 to 38. Some of them are 36. And like I say, that was just a little bit too big and I didn't need anything that big. I just want to be able to get hog house in here and deer and hang them up, stuff like that. So I opted to go with a little bit smaller door. everything I'm doing, let me get y'all up here. Everything I'm doing, I'm having to think about. Go ahead and level. Just my years of experience working in walk-in coolers down here in South Carolina and watching numerous videos on problems that people are having. I saw so many videos where people were actually taking just plain old bad insulation that you buy at Lowe's, the cheap stuff. You buy a whole roll of it for a 16-inch center studs. You cannot use that stuff. It'll last. Sorry, y'all, I'm out of breath. It'll last for a little while, but mold can start growing in it, and it gets damp from the humidity and the sweating of the cooler, and you do not want to use batt insulation. The closed cell phone insulation is the way to go, or if you know somebody, spraying insulation is the absolute best way to go. But I could not find anybody down here that done the spray insulation. The only company I did locate, I looked at their website, and our attic was like $15,000, $15,000. I'm sorry, I ain't paying, because this little room right here would honestly be, if you done all the walls, would be probably equal to like one side of an attic. And so let's just say $4,000 or $5,000. I'm not paying $4,000 or $5,000. This whole entire cooler with air conditioning, everything that I'm gonna put in it ain't gonna cost. I'm guessing it's gonna be somewhere between $1,200 to $2,000. That's the price range of what I'm shooting for with this project. I'm trying to keep it as cheap as I possibly can. So that would be just out of it. Well, y'all, it's the closed cell phone insulation, which I'm gonna have to go buy, it's ridiculous too. So I would say the closed cell phone insulation and the air conditioning, which I have 3 air conditioners I'm going to choose from. So that's one expense that I won't have. We do have, I believe there's somewhere between 8,000 BTUs, and I think there might be a 12,000 BTU, and I believe there's a 13 or a 14 or a 15,000 BTU. If you look on the website, for walk-in coolers, they recommend a minimum of R25 insulation. And to achieve that, what I'm gonna have to do is use 2 layers of 2-inch closed cell phone full-faced insulation. And that will get me up to my a little bit over, actually, my R25 value. I believe it's gonna be like R26. That's for a walk-in cooler. If you are going to do a freezer, then you need a minimum of R30, and that would be probably, I have to do the math in my head, but off the top of my head, that's going to be either 3 or 4 sheets of 2-inch closed cell phone full-faced insulation. And I ain't using this as no freezer. So, but you can do that. You can get it, if you can get it up to R30, you could actually make a freezer out of it and get it down to whatever sub temperatures that you would need below 32, which is freezing below 32. So I'm not doing that. Like I told y'all to begin with, I'm only going to be using this cooler from October to February and March. All I'm going to do is I do my deer hunting in October, November, and December, all the way to January 1st. And then hog butchering season is in that same time, between November, December, January, in that window. So I'm not going to be out here hunting a deer in June, July, August, when it's 102 degrees outside. So this will not even be used. This will not even start being used until October, probably the middle of October to March. So it's already going to be, like right now, it's cool out here. I think the temperature is like 46 or something like that right now. I'm just a hot nature and wearing a t-shirt. So I don't need all that. And there's going to be a few things that they recommend that I'm going to do a little bit differently. And I'll show y'all and tell y'all why. And it mainly falls down to I'm only going to be using this between October to March. I'm not going to be using it in the hot part of summers and stuff like that. So let's go ahead and get this wall built. Like I said, I chose the door to do 32 because I don't need a big door, and every time you open that door, the bigger the door, the more air is gonna come running out your cooler. So I don't want that. So as long as I can fit me in there and tote a deer in there and hook it on a hook, or half a hog or whatever. I'm not gonna put a whole hog in here. I won't be able to pick it up. So it's gonna be, the hog is either gonna be halves or it's gonna be quarters, stuff like that. The bacon, the hams, the shoulders, stuff like that. I'm not gonna ever hang a whole hog in here. There probably will be a whole deer hung in here, but not a whole hog. So let me go ahead and get this wall built. I'm gonna have to do some measurements, put the top rail on, and then I will come along and double the 2x4 on the top. I might triple it up because that's where I'm gonna hang my boards, my 2x6s, or either 4x4s, or either I'm gonna put 4x6 up there that's gonna be able to hang, that's gonna be in the ceiling, that's gonna hang where I can hang the meat and stuff like that from, because your top structure needs to be very sturdy to be able to support the weight of a pig. Even pig halves is probably going to be pretty heavy, 100 and something pounds, 100 plus pounds. So I mean, that's a lot of meat hanging there, and it's going to be hanging there for a long time. So, and a deer hanging there, that's probably going to be anywhere from 75 to, could be 150 or more pounds. So that's what we're going to get done now. All right, let's get this wall stood up and get it secured off. All right, that's it for phase 2. I still have to come in with a framing square, make sure the building's all square, kick some corners in. I've not anchored it to the cement yet. It's just sitting up here, kind of wobbly, but it's all 4 corners are together. I have to come in, make sure the corners are good and tight, hook everything up, put some more screws in, because the more air gaps you got, the more your air conditioning's gonna work. So like I say, I still have to come in and put the lag bolts in. I want to get the framing square on there, kick it in, get the door frame situated where it's going to be and how high I want the door to be. Probably 80 inches, something like that. Not certain. Might put it down as long as it's high enough. I got to put a step here. As long as it's high enough for me to get through there and get a deer through or half a hog, something like that. So it might be just a normal 80 inches, what a normal doorway is. The fun part's going to be insulating and cutting all that insulation to go in these walls. So, all right, y'all. I'll hand tips as I go along with it, because I don't want to get ahead of myself and start talking about this and talking about that. And a lot of this I'm having to do just by thought. There ain't no plans for this. I ain't got no blueprints for this. I'm just building it. So, but I do know what works and what doesn't work. So I haven't figured out the roofing system yet, how I'm going to do. It's probably going to have a tin roof on it, most definitely. Still got to put in, like I said, 2x6s, tripled up or doubled up, or some 4x6s, whatever I'm going to put up there to hang, to be able to hang these hogs and hang these deer on. So I got to work all that in. And it really, I'll tell you something that really bugs me right now, though, the problem I'm having and what I'm going to have to work around, and I'll show y'all why I'm doing what I'm doing, is the fact that they don't make lumber dimensional no more. 2x4 is only like 1 7/8 by 3 7/8, something like that. It's not a true 2 inches by 4 inches wide, and the stuff like that bugs me, because I've went to Lowe's before and you can measure one 2x4 and it'd be like 1 3/4 or 1 7/8 inches thick, and 3 3/4 and 3 7/8 inches wide. And to me, that drives me nuts. They're getting cheaper and cheaper, and nobody pays attention to it. I don't see how this junk, honestly, I'm just gonna call it junk, passes code. Because like our house is made out of dimensional sawmill lumber. Our rafters and our roof are true 2 inches wide by 4 inches. 2 inches thick by 4 inches wide. Where this junk, I don't see honestly how it passes code, honestly, because it's junk. It's honestly junk. And the problem I'm having, the insulation, I told y'all I'm gonna put 2 sheets of 2 inch to make it 4 inches, and there's gonna be that much daggone insulation hanging out. So I'm gonna have to work around that. And like I say, I don't want to get ahead. They don't recommend putting it between the studs. They recommend putting it on the outside of the studs, because you can have a heat bridge. A 2x4 can become a heat bridge, and that's if you're going to use it like in hot summer and stuff like that. The 2x4, when I put the outside paneling on here, can transmit heat from the paneling, from the sun hitting the paneling into the 2x4, and then it can go into your cooler through the 2x4. But like I told y'all, there's things that I ain't worried about, because I'm not using it during the 100-degree summer heat. I'm using it October to March. So I'm not worried about that. Boy. Sorry, not certain if the phone cut off there or not. It's going dead, y'all. I'm not going to be using it during the summertime, so I'm not worried about that. I'm only using it October to March. So I'm not worried. I'm going to cut my insulation to go in the walls, and then put me some paneling of my choice. It might be tin. I haven't decided yet what I'm going to do on the inside. So there are a few things. I'll let y'all know some tricks and the way I'm doing it, why I'm doing it, that some people's gonna say, hey, that's wrong, you're not supposed to cut it to go between the studs, but that's what I'm choosing to do because of the season that I'm gonna use it in. If I was using this year round, then yeah, I would probably put the insulation on the outside of the walls. But y'all, I just don't want my walls being insulation. I mean, that's all they're going to be is insulation. Every video I saw, the people just had styrofoam walls. I don't want that. If a shelf falls over something, or I trip and fall, I don't want to be knocking a hole in there. Plus, you can go buy rock wool insulation to go in the walls. But they recommend, honestly, not doing anything but putting your outside paneling on, putting your inside insulation on over your 2x4, so there would be a gap of whatever that 2x4 is. That's a gap in the wall, and to me that just seems dumb. It just seems dumb. And these, I'm looking on good websites like the CoolBot website and stuff like that, where they know about walk-in coolers. They sell the CoolBot to work on the air conditioning. I'm going to try to work around a CoolBot, not have to go pay for one, but I'm probably going to end up having to go get one in the long run. But I am going to try a few tricks that I know and see if I can avoid it. But like I say, if not, I'll just end up having to buy a CoolBot. But that's way on in the video. So this wraps it up for this. Thank y'all for coming along with me. Hope y'all have a great day. Y'all take care. God bless.
Y'all come back and see you soon.